Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Live at the Waterhole. We have started at Oldonyo over in Kenya. It's been a very busy location the last 24 hours. Oldonyo, we had lots of giraffe activity, and we had an interesting tusker that came to join us yesterday afternoon as well. So my name is Kerry Dupree, and I'll be joining you today here live at the Waterhole. Don't forget that this is a live and interactive experience, so that you can send through those questions and comments, join in the conversation. If you're using Twitter or X, don't forget to use the hashtag @WildEarth, and you can also send through those questions and comments on WhatsApp as well. So send those comments, send those questions, join in the chitter-chatter of the day. What a lovely sunny day it is today. The WhatsApp number is on screen now, so you're welcome to copy this number and send through those questions and comments. Help me keep my day entertained by asking some questions. So yeah, we had this elephant bull that was here yesterday at Oldonyo. So I know we do have quite a lot of big elephant tuskers that occur within this region, like 1 ton and a few other tusker bulls. I was trying to figure out what the name of this big tusker is that we saw yesterday, and so far I had some of the Wild Earth viewers that did mention that his name is One Tusk, which is a very original name for a one-tusked big elephant bull. So it's not this individual that's on our far left. This bull's tusk is still quite short. The bull we saw yesterday, he was a massive elephant bull and a very long tusk. I think was it on his right hand side, and the left side he was missing a tusk there. So yeah, very special to be able to see these big elephant bulls. Lovely way to start the day today. So yesterday, I don't know what was happening yesterday here in Oldonyo. We had lots of giraffe bulls. There was probably at least 10 to 12 giraffe bulls that all pulled in to the watering hole all at the same time. Today it seems like we've got a mixture of female giraffe. There's one male giraffe that's closest to us. So yeah, lovely to see a variety of giraffe coming in. There must be a giraffe conference in the area or something. I wonder why all these giraffe are around. Look like they're a little bit skeptical to drink with the elephants here, which I'm not surprised. Oh. And these testy young bulls also being a bit rude as well. Good afternoon, Catherine. Welcome, welcome. Wild Dog Wednesday would be fabulous, Catherine. We saw a cheetah over in Nguma in Etosha earlier in the week, so I'm dying to see as many predators as we can here live at the Waterhole. Been looking out for hyena. Any lions at our locations would also be great. But speaking about wild dogs, sounds like they managed to find some wild dogs this morning. Very brief sighting over in Mabula. Ralph and BK had some wild dog luck on Wild Dog Wednesdays. I'm very jealous of them. I haven't seen the morning drive yet, but I'll definitely go and give it a watch after the show. But apparently it was a very brief sighting, just quickly in the mist, and as Mabula does when you have great sightings, the signal seems to suffer quite a lot. So I don't know if it's very rude, Mr. Elephant Bull. So yeah, I don't know if they got too much of a visual of those wild dogs, but still very rare to see those wild dogs in the mist in Mabula. What a lovely sighting. It's been very rare to see those wild dogs, very elusive. We suspect that they are trying to find a new denning site up in the mountains of Mabula. That there's a bit of a mountainous belt that goes through the reserve from north to south, separating the reserve. And yeah, this is an area where the wild dogs like to den and have previously made dens in the past. So yeah, fingers crossed, maybe in a few months we'll have some little wild dog babies running around Mabula, little wild dog pups. Wild at Heart, thank you for joining this afternoon, as well as Laurie Ann. It is lovely to start with these elephants and some lovely giraffe. And yes, Wild at Heart, it is Wednesday, hump day. Hope that everyone's worst days of the week are behind them and it's all downhill from here into the weekend. So yes, looking forward to a very peaceful viewing experience of Wild at Heart and just enjoy ourselves here live at the waterhole while we watch these elephant bulls. There seems to be a little bit of a, I would say, dominance display going on here between these three bulls. They all want preference and priority over the prime drinking spot at this watering hole. So let's give these bulls a watch for a few moments and just enjoy the sounds of them moving through the water, splashing water onto their feet and just slurping up that water. Shall we have a quiet moment here just to enjoy this peaceful moments here live at the waterhole? So Victoria Pont, thank you for your question, Victoria. So Victoria is asking, how can one tell the difference between male and female giraffe? So obviously, besides the obvious, the ossicones are a great way to tell the difference between male and female giraffe. The females generally tend to have ossicones that curve inwards a bit more. They're very fluffy on the top, very hairy, and normally quite narrow and thin, whereas the male giraffe, if they're older bulls, they are bald on top of their ossicones, the horns on top of their heads. Their horns tend to be more upright, sometimes even bending outward a little bit. And so that's the kind of facial features on their head. Males are also a lot bigger than females. So males can weigh just under 2,000 kilograms, whereas a female giraffe is weighing just over 1,000 kilograms. So almost 800 to 900 kilograms difference in the weight, as well as the height. So the females are a little bit shorter than males. So female at shoulder height, you're looking about 3.5 to 4 meters, whereas a big male can get up to 5 meters. So almost 1,000 kilograms, 800 to 900 kilograms difference in weight between male and female giraffe. And then the shoulder height, males can be up to 1 meter taller than the females. There's a lot of theory, Victoria, behind but only male giraffe are dark, and the older the males get, the darker they get. Yes, you do have a lot of male giraffe that are darker in color, but also the females, I've also seen dark females. So it's all about their melanin, their pigment, color of their skin, which does help them to depends on the genes and genetics. It's not always necessarily males that are darker than females. I have also seen dark females too. So it was quite an eventful sunrise safari this morning at our locations. If you're all watching, obviously I mentioned about the wild dog sighting over in Mabula, which was very exciting. Awesome to see those wild dogs, even if it was brief. Over in Sandringham, Taylor also found the Black Dam male lions, or a pride of lions, sorry. They were very relaxed, lying on the road. Some lovely photos there. And there was the white lion was also present within that group. So the young male white lion was also present there. I know they've been looking for that white male lion. So pretty cool to see those Black Dam males with that young white or linguistic male lion. They seem pretty chilled, pretty relaxed, just lying in the road. Then a bit of an update from Cedric. Cedric also found Kachava. So I know Kachava was also seen yesterday morning. So I guess Kachava's been out and about and around. Nice photos of Kachava just lying up in a tree. So Kachava had her male cub with her, resting up on the road. Yeah, very cool sighting. So lots happening at Sandringham, lots happening on our locations, and yeah, very exciting to hear about those wild dogs over in Mabula. Just having a look to see what was seen in Amakhala today. I wonder if Amakhala was live this morning. Not seeing too much updates from Amakhala, so maybe they're having some bad weather. Looks like some bad weather is rolling in. We had some rainfall yesterday afternoon. This terrible storm rolled in, thunder and lightning all over the place. Yeah, so looks like we might be having the last rains of the season. It's quite a big bull on our left hand side, and doesn't he look rather unusual without his tusk here? Again, it is common for elephant bulls to lose their tusks when fighting. And they can break off sometimes outside of the jawline, and they can also fall out from time to time when feeding or fighting. You do get a lot of tuskless female elephants. It's very common to get these tuskless female elephants. Oh, got some more elephants there. It would be lovely if we could have our secretary bird joining us. Haven't seen the secretary bird for quite some time, and this is definitely a favorite tree for all the animals to come and rest up under. You often see the giraffe under this tree. I've often seen the elephants resting up on this tree. So a nice tree to just rest up in the shade of the day. Oh, and our little family of guinea fowl have just arrived. So it was quite funny yesterday, Shame. These guinea fowl, it was a busy watering hole here in Oldonyo yesterday. There was lots of giraffes, so the poor guinea fowl didn't have much of a chance or an opportunity to come down for a drink. And when they finally did come down, there was an elephant that chased them away. Shame, poor things. They just wanted to come down and have a lovely drink. And of course there was an elephant decided that he didn't want to share his watering hole. I hope these helmeted guinea fowl get a chance to have a drink. So helmeted guinea fowl are very good indicator species. They nest during the rains when there's enough grass. So guinea fowl indicate if they are not very successful in an area, they can indicate that there is not enough grass within the area. So very good indicator species. Although lots of predators out there wanting to eat a little baby guinea fowl. They seem to be very relaxed, these elephant bulls today. It's lovely to see them very cool, calm and collected, very relaxed. It's midday, so they've probably had a busy day of feeding. Elephants will feed most of the day. They've got a very high requirement for a lot of food to feed on, so they need to move and feed constantly, and then when they get a chance, find a watering hole to come and feed at. Have a drink before they continue feeding. So Jacqueline is asking an interesting question. So I think Jacqueline is asking, why don't we have high water sources for giraffe? I do know in places where maybe there's feeding programs for giraffe, you have giraffe feeders. We used to have one outside of my family home growing up, and not just was it to help the giraffe so they weren't bending over all the time, but it was also to give them a chance to actually feed. So in areas where you supplement feed animals, giraffe do take quite a toll, because animals like zebra can be quite aggressive. So the zebra that used to live in front of our house used to always chase the giraffe away. So it's more to to not put them in a vulnerable position while feeding, but also to help them to have enough food. Otherwise the zebra would eat everything. So I don't think it's necessary for these giraffe to have elevated water stations. They seem to be able to drink pretty with ease, depending on the individuals. Obviously the older they get, it is a little bit difficult for them to bend. Imagine bending from about 4 or 5 meters high all the way down to have a drink. It's all part of the adaptations of nature. Once you start influencing too much and introducing elevated water stations, it can bring a whole other array of problems. So nature is very well adapted to living in a natural environment, and my theory is always the least you disappear, the better. Animals are so well adapted to surviving out in nature. Sometimes us humans try to interfere when it's not always necessary. How many giraffe have we got here? We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's at least 12 to 15 giraffe all in this area again. I think there must be a giraffe conference happening somewhere close by. Oh, you can hear those guinea fowl. Listen to those guinea fowl calling. Just enjoying listening to the sounds of those helmeted guinea fowl calling in the background. Alright, why don't we go and have a look at one of our other locations. Let's head over to Lentore and see what wildlife we have waiting for us there. What a surprise! Have a look what we have here. A little terrapin. Looks like he's really staring off into the distance, searching for something. Check out this little guy, isn't he cool? We got a really nice close-up view of this water terrapin. I was checking out the Africam Instagram page last night. I saw that Lentore is very well known for leopard sightings and caracal. I always suspected this watering hole would be a perfect place for caracal to come down, and I did actually see a video, or a picture was it, of a caracal here at Lentore, and quite a few young female leopards also frequent this watering hole. So it's amazing to go and have a look at the Africam Instagram page. You can see what's happening all over the Africam camera locations. Isn't that awesome? So this water terrapin is a semi-aquatic turtle almost. So they live in fresh water habitats, rivers, ponds and lakes. They have a terrible smell that they excrete when you pick them up. It's a bit of a defense mechanism to protect themselves. So they are omnivores, these little terrapin. He's got a fly on his neck there. So they are omnivores. They do feed on a mixed variety of plants, small fish, little insects, mollusks, and even crustaceans. So I've seen a little terrapin feeding on a baby crab once before. It was quite an unusual sighting. This little crab had the advantage of being faster than the terrapins. The terrapin had to move quite quickly, and it was a bit of a battle of the beast with this terrapin and a tiny little crab. Fortunately, the crab did become the terrapin's lunch, but he was just a small little crab, so I don't think it would have filled up that terrapin too much. So if you have a look at his feet, you can see a bit of his front foot there. They do have webbed feet, which does help them swim, so they're very efficient swimmers. Of course, they have their very strong shell, which does form a protective layer to help protect them from predators. Although it doesn't always help very much. I've seen lots of predators trying to eat terrapins. The female terrapin will lay her eggs in very soft sandy soil near water, so there's lots of nice little sandy spots around this watering hole. So the female will lay her eggs in soft sand near water, and as soon as the hatchlings are independent, they can very quickly move to the water and be independent very shortly after hatching. Oh, thank you for that information, Catherine. Apparently there's also been striped hyena here at Lintore. Yeah, I was learning quite a lot about the different locations and what you can see. Saw quite a few sightings of the cheetah over in Nguma as well on the African website or Instagram page. They've got one cheetah individual with a collar that they follow quite frequently. That seems to frequent on Nguma, the Nguma pan, quite regularly. But it was just lovely to see such amazing and clear images of leopards. Sorry folks, I think we had a bit of technical challenges with our camera there in Lentore. Sorry, we had a bit of a feed freezing, so we're going to head back to Lentore in a few moments. We're back here in Lentore, Kenya, with our little terrapin friend. And I hope that you'll turn and do something, because he's kind of just gazing off into the distance. We got a question from Picasso. So Picasso is asking a question about giraffe manes and if they have a fatty layer inside their mane, as with zebra. Sorry folks, I think our feed there in Lentore is a little bit unstable. So to answer your question, Picasso, as we're speaking about giraffe, yesterday and today seem to be all about giraffe days, so learning a lot about giraffe. So giraffe do not have the same fatty layer under their mane as do with zebra. If you have a look, giraffe have very short manes, not very heavy, very short, thin manes, as opposed to the zebra manes. The zebra have this very distinct, obviously you mentioned about the fatty layer. It's at the base of the mane, and this does help provide structural support, keeping the mane upright and possibly offering some protection against predators and environmental factors. So if you've ever seen a sick zebra, have a look at their mane. You'll see he has a floppy mane, which can be a very good indicator that this zebra is sick. It's very unusual or very rare to see a sick zebra, but yeah, their manes are much longer than giraffe manes, and that's why they need that fatty layer to hold their manes up, so it can be a protection from predators, but also when fighting. Those stallions can be quite nasty, biting and fighting with one another, and those manes do help to protect them. Whereas giraffe have these very short, upright manes, composed of quite thin, stiff, coarse hair, which does stand along the length of their neck, and they do not need that fatty layer in order to help their manes to be erected. This elephant bull is very relaxed. I don't think he's moved in the last 10-15 minutes. He's just here enjoying himself, having a good drink. Hello, boy. I'm still trying to get over his missing tusk on this side. It is quite an unusual sight to see a big elephant bull like this without a tusk on one side. He's giving us a bit of a sniff. These elephants have such thick skin. Look at those rolls and wrinkles of skin on this elephant's leg and on his bottom there. So they do have this wrinkly skin that does play quite a crucial role in their survival. And this, basically helps to protect their joints and helps them from getting injured by any plants, any of those nasty acacias. It protects them from predators too, so very thick skin. So an elephant's skin can be about 2 to 2.5 centimeters thick in some parts of their body, or 1 inch, which is very thick. So very, very thick, especially around their ears, trunks, and joints. And we can't see this elephant's skin that closely, but elephants do have tiny little hairs on their skin, especially on their trunk. They have a lot more hairs on their trunk than the rest of their body, but you still see tiny little hairs covering their body, which are coarse, quite coarse, and they do help to thermoregulate and are sensitive to touch, so they know if something is touching them. They can get a bit of an early warning system. Small female giraffe coming in. Alrighty, why don't we head across to Tembe Elephant Park with some elephants and see what's happening in Tembe. We have some more elephants here in Tembe Elephant Park. They look like they have just come from a pool party or a lovely mud bath. So these elephants, their skin does vary from species to species, or from region to region more like. So it does vary from a greyish to greyish brown colour, but most elephants look the same colour to me, a grey colour. Just the soil in different areas can throw you off a little bit and make you think that elephants are a different colour. We've got a white-faced whistling duck down in the water there, and this elephant bull seems a little bit uneasy. So even though these elephants have very thick skin, it is very sensitive. So their skin has a very dense network of nerves, very highly sensitive nerves, so that they can feel anything on their skin. So these little nerves work together with those tiny little hairs that I mentioned to help the elephants to sense anything that might be touching them or on their skin. And they're very good at healing themselves, these elephants, so they can heal from wounds relatively quickly, even with deep injuries or scars. I've once seen an elephant bull. His name was Tembe. He was a resident bull in the camp that I worked at, the Kamba camps in Odzala, and shame, he had a leg injury, so he could not walk too well, and I think another elephant bull found him and put a tusk into his thigh, and this poor elephant bull Tembe, he was not in great shape. He had a massive panel of skin that ended up flopping and falling off of his, ended up ripping off of his thigh. Must have been easily, maybe 5 to 6 kilograms of skin that I think fell off, and majority of his thigh was then completely had no skin. And it's amazing, within 6 months you could barely even tell that he'd had this nasty injury in his thigh. So yeah, it's incredible how animals are so resilient. Oh, looks like this elephant bull is going to go and give himself a lovely rub-a-dub-dub on this tree. We had a juvenile African fish eagle in this tree the other day, so we'll keep an eye out for him. Maybe he's still around. We got a question from Mindy Talapoa. Thank you for your question, Mindy, about if we think that there is an attempt of interspecies communication at watering holes. So there's very little research that has been done on this, Mindy, but yes, apparently there is strong evidence that does suggest that there could be some form of interspecies communication which does occur at watering holes, especially in diverse ecosystems in Africa. So these gathering areas, mineral lick areas, watering holes, sodak areas create the opportunity for lots of different species to interact, and whether they directly or indirectly communicate through vocal or visual, olfactory and behavioral cues is unknown, but definitely I think these animals can communicate with each other through visual communication, body language, but the audible communication between these animals is still so much to learn, so much to study. So Katleho Nantoma, thank you for your question. So yes, elephants can survive for a long time without tusks. Oh, look at this elephant. He's scratching his bottom. You can see underneath this tree is completely bare of grass. That's an indicator of lots of activity, lots of elephants that have been moving through this area, using this tree as a rubbing post, and of course giving themselves a nice sand bath, which this bull is doing right now. So yes, lots of elephants can survive without tusks. I think it's easier for elephant cows to survive without tusks, even though it makes it difficult for them to protect their young. Oh, we've got another elephant coming to the watering hole. But with the elephant bulls, I think it makes it a little bit difficult for them because elephant bulls need their tusks not just to protect themselves but also defend themselves against other males that might be in the area. So yes, they can survive even with one or two tusks. I mean, there's very few predators that elephants have, but it does kind of put them in a bit of a vulnerable position when it comes to defending themselves against other elephants. So let's have a scan, see if anyone can spot our juvenile African fish eagle. We've also got some impala that are joining us at the watering hole. I wonder where the rest of the herd is. Sure. Oh, we've got some butterflies down there at the water. Also looks like some barn swallows that are flying over. I wonder if there's some rain predicted here in Tembe. You know, these barn swallows, lots of swifts and swallows can be known as the rain birds in a lot of African countries because they bring the rains or arrive just before the rains. Do love the sound of those sombre greenbills calling in the forest here in Tembe. So Tembe is a very special location, lots of very unique sand forests, which does attract a lot of birders to come and see all the birds that occur within those forests. So incredible birding here at Tembe. Obviously they do have the big five, and the elephants. Tembe is very much famous for their massive elephant tusker bulls. So folks, it seems like it is mud wallow time for the warthogs over in Oldonyo. Let's go and watch the warthogs have a mud bath, shall we? So we had a lot of warthogs mud wallowing yesterday, and it's always rather entertaining to watch. Always brings a bit of a smile to your face. I love the tails wagging all over the place. Here's some warthogs fighting, if anyone asked. We had a viewer asking the other day about warthogs fighting, especially the juveniles. Among siblings, there can be squabbles from time to time, or if the female warthog gets a little bit enough. But yeah, let's just watch this family of warthogs having a good mud bath, shall we? We had an unusual female warthog coming through yesterday. So this looks like the first 3 culprits we had also coming for a mud bath yesterday, and there was another female that came just before we ended the show. She had quite cool tusks. So male warthogs are known for having much bigger, thicker and longer tusks than the females. Oh shame, this girl is being harassed by the ox pickers. But yeah, females are known to have much smaller tusks, but it is quite cool. From time to time you do get a female that might have quite small and tightly ringed tusks, so tusks that kind of are very tight in the circle. Yeah. This is a lovely close-up view of these warthogs. You can see again we were talking about the hair on elephants, and same as elephants. Oop. I do love how in different regions you get warthogs that are they do have tiny particles of hair throughout their body, some areas more than others, but the warthogs are very well known for having very thick manes too. And in some cases the male warthogs can also erect their manes, and to be part of a territorial display or fighting display between the males. You can see this is a young male here, so it's probably the sub-adults. They look like they're maybe a year old already with their mother, just off in the background there. We had some individuals yesterday with very long whiskers. I love the whiskers on the side of their face. Again, all this hair can be a form of protection for these warthogs. Warthogs also have very proactive tear ducts, so they look like they're crying quite a lot, especially the big male warthogs, and that is just to help to remove the sand from their eyes. They spend a lot of time digging in the ground, and that just helps with their sand. We've got very handsome or beautiful giraffe legs in the screen here. Very interesting to see these giraffe legs close up. So these look like very healthy giraffe legs. We were speaking about yesterday how giraffe, because they're such a tall land mammal, and they carry so much weight with them. Imagine a big male's just under 2,000 kilograms. They can develop arthritis in their joints, but these look like very healthy and very beautiful giraffe legs. So wildlife lady, yes, it is very lovely to watch warthogs mud bathing. It's just something you could watch all day, same as elephant swimming or rhino mud bathing. So the warthogs are pretty lucky this time of year. You can see there's lots of grass around, so they can pretty much just feed and forage as they move. But as the seasons change, they start having to go down lower onto their haunches and really dig away to get at the roots. But this time of year, when the land is full of greenery and food, they are quite spoiled that they feed mostly on the tops of grass and grass seeds, and then in the dry season they do have to adapt to feeding on roots and tubers. Warthogs are omnivores, so they do also feed on meat from time to time, as with most pigs. Giraffe legs are quite cool. Check out the contrast between the color. You can see very white at the base of their feet, and yes, we were speaking about giraffe hooves, and yeah, unfortunately I have seen a few giraffe that do get deformities or can get hoof problems, especially if they have a nasty spike or a splinter in that hoof, so they do have to be quite careful while moving through the bush. This female warthog is getting her ears cleaned. You have to pay for that in the human world. Aren't warthogs and animals lucky? They get a free cleaning service. No spas, no doctors necessary. Just these little birds, little oxpeckers that just clean away for free. So Charlene Van Regard. These are, I wouldn't say these are big warthogs. Yeah, these juveniles can weigh anything between 20 to 30 kilograms, a big female, but a big male warthog can weigh up to about 40 kilograms, so they're still small. Again, it seems like one female with her sub-adults that are just over a year, so they're little piglets from last year. They're quite big already. Looks like they're getting tusks. Got a few female giraffe here. So again, we were talking about the difference between male and female giraffe. So have a close look at the ossicones. These are two female on the right and a big male on the left. So this is still I wouldn't say he's a fully grown mature male, because his ossicones are only pretty much really bald on the tops. When the big males get older and sexually mature, the more they fight with one another, they get completely bald all around those ossicones. So Gina Biddle, yes, these oxpeckers here at Aldonio seems like they have a very healthy oxpecker population here in Aldonio, because even the giraffe, if you notice, when the giraffe go down to drink, they really get harassed by these oxpeckers. The oxpeckers are like desperate to shoot into their ears and also try and pick away at any ticks that might be hidden in the giraffe's ears. So yeah, shame, they really get harassed quite a bit by these oxpeckers. Hello, beautiful girl. So she's ruminating right now, this giraffe. So they have a chambered stomach giraffe. They are ruminants, and as she stands here, she'll regurgitate her food and re-chew her food, and it's a way of getting as much nutrients out of their food as possible. Look at those eyelashes. You have to pay a lot of money in the human world for eyelashes like that. You need some serious eyelash extensions there. Isn't she beautiful? So we have a question from Adrian. So Adrian is asking if giraffes' markings are unique and used for identification. So yes, Adrian, every single giraffe has very unique markings. It's just like humans and our fingerprints, how every human has a different fingerprint, all unique and special, and that can be used as a form of identification, all these different spots. Yeah, you pick a few patterns, on 1 or 2 patterns on each side of the giraffe, just like leopards. So ideally you want 2 to 3 very interesting or unique patterns, and that can help you identify them with the males. Males often will have extra protrusions from their head or uniquely shaped ossicones. In some cases, I've even seen male giraffe with broken ossicones, and that can happen from fighting or shame. Unfortunately, sometimes when they get caught in fences, it can also break those ossicones. That can also be used as an identification feature. Look at those oxpeckers busy combing their bills through this fur of the giraffe, looking for their breakfast. Although you can see there's a lot of ticks just between this giraffe's legs there. Might be a bit difficult for them to hold on, so they've got these special adapted feet, oxpeckers, in order to be able to hold on to the body of the giraffe. Oxpeckers have what is known as a zygodactyl foot. So it's almost as if it's in a K shape. So these feet have 2 toes pointing forwards and 2 toes pointing backwards. And this arrangement does provide the ability for them to have a very strong grip and be able to cling onto their hosts while the animal is moving. So even while the animal's walking, this unique foot structure of these oxpeckers allows them to hang on for dear life as their mobile restaurant or host species that they are feeding on is moving. So in conjunction with these interesting foot structure, they also have very strong curved claws. So these curved sharp claws do help them to dig into thick skin and fur, giving them stability as well. Oh, this male got an old scar. So scars and injuries can also be a great way to identify different giraffe individuals. Sometimes they can have very unique and interesting scars, just like our giraffe friend over at Mabula, Stan Lee. He has a very interesting scar on his neck. That helps us to differentiate him between other bulls. So Ellie, yes, I agree with you there, Ellie. These giraffe are very elegant and beautiful creatures. So have a look just to the left of this giraffe. The oxpeckers have come down for a bit of a swim and a bit of a drink. They've taken a break from the feeding for a bit and coming down to clean themselves and enjoy a fresh drink of water. The poor oxpecker's trying to get into this giraffe's ears while she's drinking. So we got a question from Earth Lover, is asking, how long do giraffe live? So the lifespan of your average giraffe in the wild will be about 20 to 25 years. Obviously in captivity, lots of these creatures can live longer, except for elephants. Elephants don't live as long in captivity, but in a captivity, a giraffe has been recorded to live up to 30 years old. But yeah, for me, we were speaking about arthritis and these giraffe and how they get joint pains and joint injuries, and they're not really designed to have a long lifespan. Those legs of theirs would really struggle to hold them up after long periods of time. Oh, I think this is our female from yesterday. Yes, this is. So how cool is this, folks? We've got the same 2 families of warthogs that have frequented this pan yesterday and today. Have a look, this female, she's got those very curved horns, those tusks that I was talking about, and very long whiskers. And she's really enjoying giving herself a nice mud bath, exfoliating that skin, and just enjoying her spa treatment. Oh, she was having a very good mud bath in that little mud wallow spot of hers, really getting in there, digging away, exposing all the nice muddy soft swell. We've got a Cape turtle dove or ring-necked dove. It'd be lovely to see our wattled starlings. Another elephant has come back to join us. Looks like our same elephant bull that was just here earlier. And on the left we have a male giraffe that is displaying what is known as phlegm grimace. This is when the males test to see if the females are in season. So he'll be smelling her urine, and in some cases it's not very pleasant, but in some cases I have seen male giraffe also licking the female's urine or drinking the female's urine as she urinates, which is not a very pleasant thing to watch, but that's how the males test to see if the females are in season. And the female will tolerate all the young bulls pestering and following her for days and days, and eventually when a male to her suiting finds her, then she will allow him to mate with her. So the mate selection is up to the females in giraffe. So Ellie is asking if giraffe get darker with age. So yes, Ellie, in a lot of cases giraffe do tend to darken with age, especially males. But again, as I mentioned, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't get dark females. So this change is most notable in the Maasai giraffe and reticulated giraffe, but it can occur in any species. And this can be linked to hormonal changes as male giraffe mature, increasing their testosterone levels, combining to contribute towards this darkening of their coat. And this is why you get a lot of dark colored bulls, which might appear much darker than the younger bulls. This can also be a visual form of communication between giraffe. It can indicate dominance, sexual maturity, and ward off other males. This male giraffe is really persistently following this poor female. She must be in season. It is a common behavior, this behavior, and as I mentioned, it's to detect the chemical signals or pheromones that this female giraffe is excreting in her urine. So he'll curl back, once having a good sniff, he'll curl back his upper lip, exposing his teeth and gums, and inhale deeply. The scent and particles will then put into the Jacob's organ. Alrighty, why don't we head back across to Tembe, see what's happening in Tembe. We've got some more visitors to the watering hole. Oh, looks like we've got some impala and some zebra here at Tembe. Nice to see zebra. You don't often see zebra at Tembe. We're talking about Nyala yesterday and how this is a very popular place in Tembe to find a Nyala, perfect habitat. They like these thick, very well vegetated areas. This is probably a little herd of impala that's all scattered across this open area. You can hear some Egyptian geese calling. Maybe if we're lucky, our white-faced whistling duck might give us a bit of a vocalization. really nice to take in all the audible sounds of the bush sometimes, just sit in silence and just enjoy a incredible view and listen to all the birds calling around us. Oh, sounds like we've got an elephant that's come to the watering hole. I've been talking a lot lately about predators, and yeah, we know that here in Tembe we do have the big five. Excuse me. So they do have a thriving population of lions here in Tembe Elephant Park, which are being actively monitored for conservation purposes. The population has been growing in the last few years, and sightings of the cubs have been reported. A lot of territorial disputes between the males that occur in this area. Yeah, that elephant drinking water. Oh, looks like we've got a few elephant bulls here. One is littering himself with dust. So dust bathing is a very good way for animals to also cool themselves down. And a lot of people think that mud wallowing and kind of splashing themselves or swimming in the water, the only forms of cooling their bodies down. But elephants will also sand bath themselves from time to time. It's a form of cooling themselves down, and zebra will also sand bath as a form of helping get rid of those parasites. Comment from Wild at Heart. So Wild at Heart is curious about a rock python in Tembe that was injured while trying to swallow a kill. And I guess Wild at Heart, you're trying to find out if this python has been recovered and returned to the natural environment. Wild at heart, I will ask around a few people if if anyone has any idea what happened to this python, but I don't have too many contacts or close friends in Tembe. If anyone else does have some contact. So, wild at heart, I'm getting some info from Gwyn. Apparently the last update was that rock python had surgery. So often when these python are swallowing prey, nasty little horns of an impala can cause a bit of a very impaling injury. But apparently the python was stitched up, had surgery, and was reintroduced into the wild. So big thanks to the team there at Tembe Elephant Park for helping to rescue this African rock python. Quite an interesting story. Thank you for sharing that with us, Wild at Heart. These python species are so important to try to protect and preserve them. So I know they are an endangered species and very much protected. It is one of Africa's largest and most impressive snakes. Very powerful constricting abilities. I'm not sure about in South Africa, but I do know in Zimbabwe, if you get caught with a rock python, whether you wanted it as a pet or whether you're poaching, it is a very big fine. So they always encourage people to relocate these individuals. They often can get themselves into sticky situations when they break into maybe chicken coops in villages looking for an easy meal, and that's kind of sometimes how they meet their end, or end up getting killed in a lot of cases. But I've done quite a few releases and reintroductions of rock pythons from the villages. The last one I did, she was a beautiful specimen. She was almost a golden color, so very light white golden color. And shame, she was quite stressed. She'd been in a bag for some time. She'd eaten 3 chickens, which she persisted to regurgitate when she got captured. And it was quite a few hours of arguing and trying to negotiate with the villagers to let us take the snake and reintroduce her back into the wild. So it's always a great moment when you can release these wild creatures that are so endangered and protected back into the wild. The African rock python can reach a record size of 5 to 6 meters, or in some cases 20 feet, which is pretty crazy because I think the largest crocodile ever recorded in Tanzania was 21 feet. So imagine a snake almost as long as the largest crocodile ever recorded in the world, or in Africa. Isn't that pretty crazy? So Tembe is a perfect habitat for these rock pythons. They can be found across sub-Saharan Africa. They do inhabit quite a variety of environments, including grasslands, savannas, rocky outcrops, especially near sources of water. So it's incredible how these rock pythons are so adaptable to living in different environments, and incredible how think of a snake taking down an antelope. So it's just incredible to think of an African rock python catching an antelope. Isn't that crazy? I mean, there's been they seem to be very active this time of year. I mean, if a rock python catches a big prey species like a little impala or a duiker, they don't need to eat for a couple of months. It seems to be very busy. I know on Instagram there's been at least 5 or 6 videos over the last 2 months of rock pythons that have captured impala, baby impala, adult impala, warthogs. It's incredible what they can feed on. So they are carnivorous, these rock pythons, and they do eat small prey. So the smaller the python, the smaller the prey. So when they're still young, they'll feed on small mammals and birds, but then as they get bigger, they will go for bigger prey like antelope. Incredible ambush technique that they have to capture their prey. And then they coil around their prey, suffocate their prey before completely swallowing their prey whole. So we're talking about earlier, been really focused on predators this week. We've been hoping to see as many predators we can at our locations. And here at Tembe, I have seen lions before. I do have the big five, and we were talking about the lion conservation in Tembe is managed very carefully. They do have a lot of efforts in order to contracept some of the lions and also to relocate some lions back into the area to help the population. So apparently the carrying capacity here at Tembe is 20 lions, so that's why they would use contraceptives in the case where they are overpopulated, because then you'll get problems like not enough food, inbreeding, and a lot of fighting between the males. But they can, so it's, carrying capacity is 20 males, but they have at some stages had over 50 individuals. I know at this area there's a pride of lionesses that does frequent this pan from time to time. I've seen them once. It was a really cool sighting. Oh, can hear some European bee eaters flying overhead. So it was quite cool earlier. We had some barn swallows. Yesterday we actually had a vervet monkey here at Tembe, which was pretty awesome to see. A little male vervet monkey on the ground. Could have been foraging or feeding. Moving from one tree to the other to cause mischief and mayhem in another area. So we had a juvenile fish eagle that was hanging out in this tree to the right of our elephant bulls. We'll have a bit of a scan and another pan, see if he's up in the tree or maybe if he's perched up in another tree somewhere close by. Oh, got a few elephant bulls have joined. These are all bachelor bulls coming down to the watering hole. Enjoy themselves. It's been a while since I've seen a breeding herd here at Tembe. Mostly we see these massive elephant bulls. So Gina Biddle, yes, I know a lot of, it's kind of a mixed crowd when it comes to snakes, Gina. You get I'd say 50% of clients you get on safari would love to see a snake, and 50% of clients do not like snakes at all. So it's pretty even 50-50 when I ask my clients do they have any fears or anything they're very afraid of. It's normally snake is at the top of the list and scorpions and spiders as following a second, and I've had a client who's petrified of bats as well. You don't often see these species, but it's interesting how there's a bit of an Egyptian goose squabble going on behind the elephant there. There's something happening with the Egyptian geese. Could be a few too many males in the area having a bit of a spat. So yes, Gina, it would be cool to see a snake or a python. It would be pretty epic. But of course when you're looking for things, they don't always show up. Best time of year to see the snakes is just before the rains arrive. They're all coming out of their holes and burrows. They don't want to be flooded underground, and that's the best time to see snakes. But most of the time, a lot of these creatures like snakes are often there. We just don't see them. So we've got a question from Johan, who's asking about what my bird life list is at. So Johan, I think I'm sitting at about just under 600 birds. I need to have a proper sit down and recalibrate my bird list, but last time I checked a few months ago I was sitting at about 570. So if you are using Newman's or eBird, or I like Merlin quite a lot, it does have your bird list bird list number should be there. So yeah, my current eBird number is 567, but I know and that's on Merlin. and on eBird, but I know there's quite a few species, at least 20 species I haven't been able to log here. So yeah, I'm slowly approaching 600. Johan, I'd love to know what your bird list number is. What is your life list of birds? So the spot that we're looking for this fish eagle is this acacia tree right in between these three elephant bulls. So the one directly in the middle. He was sitting on just a branch that was kind of overhanging at the bottom. So yeah, let's see if we can see him in any of the trees there. Where has he gone to? So Catherine, thank you for your update. So Catherine also sent a bit of an update from our snake recovery story of the python. So apparently the snake, the 28th of February was the last update, and it was found on a farm in KwaZulu-Natal, and it was planned to be released early March, which as far as I understand it has been released successfully into the wild. So as I mentioned, a lot of creatures living in nature are very resilient, and can survive a lot. I know a lot of cases where snakes have been successfully captured, rehabbed and reintroduced into the wild. If you've heard of the snake catchers in Durban, in KwaZulu-Natal, Snakes in the City, sorry, it's called Snakes in the City. Yeah, there's that couple, they do an amazing job of relocating and moving snakes from an urban environment back into nature. So Catherine, yes, I agree with you there. Seeing snakes on safari is very awesome, but you don't always see them. And in most cases, when you do see the snakes, it's with guests that don't want to see snakes. So I've had multiple guests on safari that said they want to see snakes and you don't see a single snake. And then you get guests on safari that hate snakes and you see a snake every day. So it's amazing how it always works out like that. So Johan, thanks for sending your your bird life list through. So you're sitting at 422. Congratulations there, Johan. That's still a decent amount of birds. I've been lucky. I've got a lot of rare birds that I managed to tick off my list in West Africa. Probably over 300 different birds just from West Africa alone. So yeah, well done on that number, Johan. Pretty good number of birds. Oh, I think I heard little bee eaters. Let's have a listen. So there is a pair of little bee eaters that does hang out on this thick acacia tree just to our left, and it's also the same spot where our striped kingfisher likes to perch himself while looking for a little bit of a meal. Check out these giants. It's incredible how these elephants here in Tembe have such long tusks. Very good genetics, obviously also very good minerals in the soil. It helps them to have these long, strong tusks. Unlike our elephants in Namibia, which have very short, stumpy tusks, very brittle, break quite quickly because of the heat and lacking of minerals. Oh, there's the European bee eaters calling. Sounds also like a green-backed Cameroptera calling just off to our left, probably in a thicket somewhere. Oh, and we also had a pretty awesome bird sighting. Johan, I don't know if you were watching yesterday. We had a rock pratenkool over at Nguma, which is a very rare sighting. I mean, they do occur in Namibia, but they're not often seen at Nguma, so it was quite a rare sighting. Lovely new species to add to the list. I have seen a rock pratenkool before on the banks of the mighty Zambezi River, but my first time seeing one in many, many years. So a pretty cool sighting of that little rock pratenkool. Looks like a very nice chilled afternoon here in Tende. Alright folks, why don't we head across to Tau over in Madikwe and see what's happening in another part of South Africa. It has been a lovely scenery here at Tau Game Lodge over in Madikwe. This area during the dry season is normally completely barren. All you see is sand and rocks. And have a look at the complete transformation from a red, rocky, open, barren area to all of a sudden lots of lush green plants, nice grass. Looks like we've got some daisies in the background there, some yellow daisies. We had some ostrich here yesterday, which was pretty epic sightings. You see some ostrich. It was, I think we had 3 males and 1 female ostrich. Lovely to see ostrich, not something we see often at the locations. Have a look, there's an impala ewe or female impala just lying in the grass, almost completely hidden. Got some zebra here as well. So this pan is also very well known for leopard. I have seen at Tau there were leopard that do like to frequent this pan at night, and I know there have been a few sightings of cheetah. The cheetah do come down to also drink at this pan as well. Lots of crocodile activity. Yes, I did watch, there's another video on the Africam Instagram page of one of the crocodiles that was in this watering hole. There are 3 big crocodiles that live in this watering hole, resident crocodiles, and I've seen them making a kill twice here, and one of the kills they almost made from a few months ago. It was a warthog that was looked like had been mud wallowing next to the water and then decided to take a nap, and this crocodile was stalking the warthog, but the warthog was a few meters from the water's edge. So see just kind of this this bank here. So imagine there's a warthog lying, I'd say 5 meters from the water's edge, and this crocodile just kind of creeped out of the water, completely exposed, trying to sneak up on this little warthog, unsuspecting female warthog. Luckily the warthog snapped out of her little napping mode just in time to escape the jaws of a crocodile. So the water levels are starting to drop here a little bit. I can't decide if it's raining here at Tau Game Lodge or if it's just a bit of wind. Keeping a lookout for those crocodiles. Where are the crocodiles? There's a nice warthog rubbing post on the right hand side here. Very popular and used by warthogs. We're just having a scan on the bank here to see if we can find our crocodile friends. Perfect place to look for some aquatic birds as well. There's lots of common moorhens, black crakes, 3-banded plovers that like to occur at this particular pan. If we're lucky, there's some Cape teals that fly in from time to time, white-faced whistling ducks. They're residential Egyptian geese that are always hanging around. Oh, our blacksmith lapwing. Water birds, any waterfowls. It's incredible how this it's like reeded grass vegetation is kind of suffocating this watering hole. Obviously you noticed during the dry season it started growing rampant across the water here. Now there's not much water left inside this watering hole, so in some cases like this, especially if it's a pioneering species or invasive species like your water hyacinths, yeah, that needs to be eradicated and removed. I'm sure a lot of our residents here in Johannesburg are very much aware of the water hyacinth problem at Hartbeespoort Dam. It is crazy. I've never seen so much invasive plants on that lake. So there are a lot of projects being taken out to remove these invasive plants. Otherwise, it deoxygenates the soil and removes habitat from aquatic species. It's a bit quiet this afternoon, not too much activity at the water's edge. Female impalas very gazed into the water here, might be looking at something. It can be a disadvantage for the crocodiles, but it can also be an advantage to them. Hide them under the water with all this thick grass. Very healthy population of impala. Whoa, and a waterbuck. Oh, there's a waterbuck hiding in there. Didn't even notice him. He could be lying down. I'm just seeing the horns and his head sticking up. Lovely male waterbuck. They were feeding on this, these reeded areas during the dry season. The baboons, monkeys and waterbuck were all coming down and feeding on this reeded vegetation. It was the only greenery in the area. Come on, crocodiles. Where are crocodiles today? Here's some little waxbills and firefinches also in the background, chirping away. So they'll come down to the watering hole, these smaller birds, to drink, but because of bigger birds of prey, they can't come out into the open. They will sometimes find a branch, just like at Lentore, very thick acacia branch, or some vegetation covering the side of a watering hole, and that's how they'll get down to have a drink. Those impala look a bit skeptical to come down for a drink. Wonder if they don't see our crocodile that we're looking for. It's just lovely to see this location in its prime green season. It's been very dry here at Tau Lodge in Madikwe. I think they had a very long dry season. Cool, folks. We've got some activity over in Ordonio. Why don't we see what antelope has come down to the watering hole? So look what we have here. Besides an invasive species, Lantana camara, datura. There's some datura on the left there, but we've also got a Grant's gazelle. How cool is this? It's quite an unusual antelope. It looks very similar to a springbok. I've never actually seen one live, not live at the waterhole, I mean face to face seen one, but very beautiful antelope, very similar to springbok. Do a very large pale gazelle with upright horns, relatively small eyes. Looks like he's busy feeding away here. So the habitat, they do occur in Kenya, in Tanzania. It's a very limited habitat. They're not as common as your springbok. They do occur in parts of the Rift Valley as well. It's very busy, saying lots of insects. His tail is going wild, so they do feed on a variety of grass, herbs and shrubs. In the dry season, they might have a bit of a varied diet and even feed on fruit from time to time, like the balanites fruit, and even solanum have been recorded to have been eaten by these Grant's gazelle, which is quite unusual. So solanum is the snake apple, which is known to be poisonous, used in a lot of African traditions in order to make medicine. Mostly it's a toxic. It's also very toxic and poisonous. So interesting that these Grant's gazelles have adapted to feeding on fruits of the balanites and also solanum. It's the only species that I know of or have read about that feed on this snake apple or solanum fruit. So Catherine is sending a comment through that the Grant's gazelle are not seen very often, and yes, I agree with you there, Catherine. I think this is only my second time seeing a Grant's gazelle, and the first time I saw this Grant's gazelle I had no idea what they were. I was like, it's a springbok, but it's got very long horns. Very long, impressive horns. So typically these are herbivores, and they can be concentrated in areas such as the Serengeti plains. They can also be seen in mixed groups. So herds of these gazelles can reach numbers up to 500 individuals from time to time. Isn't he beautiful? So Spas Enkov, this is a really cool sighting to see this Grant's gazelle. It looks like a male. He's in very good condition. And Spas Enkov is asking about the distribution that they occur in Kenya. It seems to be they're more in the southern part of Kenya and Tanzania. A very small distribution throughout Kenya, and more areas that they occur in Tanzania. So very cool to see this little gazelle species. He's very busy wagging his tail, lots of insects bothering him. So although these species have been eliminated in some areas due to agricultural developments, they were also poached uncontrollably in some regions. So even though they've been poached quite a lot in previous years, I think in the 70s and 80s, and they have lost a lot of their habitat, these gazelles are still quite widespread and common both inside and outside of national parks. So Wild at Heart, thank you for your question about what is the difference between Grant's gazelle and springbok. So Grant's gazelle look like they're a little bit bigger than springbok. Obviously the horns are much bigger, thicker and longer than springbok, and they're a lot paler than springbok. So springbok have a lot more intricate markings and colorations as opposed to these Grant's gazelle. And of course the size, these Grant's gazelle are a little bit bigger. Got a giraffe playing right in front of us here, also probably trying to have a bit of a drink. So this is a male. I've only ever seen, I think the one day we saw maybe 2 male Grant's gazelles, but very cool to see this very rare antelope species. What is he looking at? So we also have a question here from Wild at Heart is asking, do females have horns like males in Grant's gazelle? I'm sorry you haven't been to Kenya yet. Wild at heart. I'm also dying to get to Kenya. But yeah, so another difference between the Grant's gazelle and springbok is apparently the Grant's gazelle females do not have horns. So only the males possess horns in Grant's gazelle, which are very long and slender. Of course, they do curve backward a little bit as well. Do have these very inconspicuous bumps where the horns might be present in females. So yeah, there's another difference between the Grant's gazelle and springbok, which is quite unusual because I know some gazelle species females do have horns, but in this case with the Grant's gazelle only the males have horns, and this is used for territorial or dominance displays. This male looks very impressive, very strapping young lad. Wouldn't want to go into a duel with him. So Ellie's asking about if this is the species that jumps very high into the air. So Ellie, yes, Grant's gazelle can pronk or jump into the air, but it's more characteristically known for the springbok. So springbok do have that prancing and jumping up into the air behavior. This can be a dominance display between the males. Can also be to try to ward off any other males in the area. It's like just a bit of a display to show that they're strong, have lots of energy, and can take on any competitors. Still got lots of giraffe, obviously, coming down to the watering hole. So many giraffes stored at this watering hole. It's a very busy little gazelle, this species. So obviously you can see he's moving around quite a lot. He's not just feeding in one area. So as we mentioned, they do feed on a variety of herbs, shrubs and foliage, as well as grasses. But you get different types of animals that feed. You get mixed feeders, which is like this gazelle. You get specialized feeders, and then you get bulk feeders like elephants. Elephants would be the bulk feeders. Impala could be a mixed feeder as well. And your specialized feeders would be antelope, like your smaller antelope like bushbuck. Little duiker species be more specialized in the food that they eat. Shame. Looks like this female giraffe is still being harassed by this male, so it's another young male. I don't think he's going to stand much of a chance against the other bigger bulls that are frequenting this female. Having a look for her. It's a shame. This young female giraffe, while she's in season, she'll have to put up with a lot of persistent males following her from time to time. But again, she'll wait for the biggest male that meets her partner requirements, that is big enough, has good genes, that she'll be happy to spread, happy to allow him to mate with her so that she can pick the best genes. It's always about genes and genetics in nature. Every animal wants to make sure that they procreate with the strongest, biggest and strongest males. This Grant's gazelle, such a lovely sighting to see this Grant's gazelle today. These Grant's gazelles specially designed and adapted to dry environments, very similar to their cousin the springbok. They can survive in very hot and dry climates, traveling for very long distances for food and water. So they typically, as we mentioned, browse grass, shrubs and fruit. But it's very fascinating, and it's very interesting how they can feed on such different fruits and even toxic plants. So I wonder if this Grant's gazelle can feed on a solanum. I wonder if they'd be able to feed on things like tamboti that have latex and are normally poisonous. Very interesting. They must have a very well developed and modified digestive system to handle these toxic plants. So these males do defend small territories, which they scent mark and perform their little displays of high jumps and stiff leg runs in order to deter their rivals, as we spoke about with the springbok, very similar. Mating season does generally take place during the rainy season when food is abundant, and this allows the males to have enough energy to move around and display for the females. Gestation period for the female Grant's gazelle is about 7 to 8 months, whereby the female will give birth to one calf, which she will also hide in the grass. Was it a bird? Seems to be a very brightly coloured bird that keeps flying across the screen here. So yeah, the female Grant's gazelle will hide her little one in the grass for a few days, up to a week, before introducing it back into the herd. These Grant's gazelle, just like springbok, they're quite an iconic part of the African savanna ecosystem, the balance between prey and grazers. It's a very important part of the ecosystem, these gazelle species. Oh, we've got our helmeted guinea fowl are back. Hopefully they'll be allowed to have a drink at the watering hole. Shame they don't seem to be allowed to drink very often, these guinea fowl. Every time they go down there, they're chased away by something. Just keep an eye out here. There's a brightly coloured bird that keeps flying across the screen. What is it? This male Grant's gazelle is going to dig himself a nice little spot and have a bit of a rest. So we've got a comment from Siv in Norway. So Siv is mentioning about it would be cool to see a Gerenuk. Yes, Siv, it would be cool to see a Gerenuk. I do love, they're a very unusual antelope. It's like a long-necked impala. Oh, there we go. We've got the superb starlings. I wondered what was flying past the screen there. We had these bright birds that were all of a sudden flying across the screen. I had no idea what they were, but it looks like we got some superb starlings that have come down to the watering hole. splendid starlings or superb starlings. Oh, chestnut-bellied starlings. Sorry, folks. It says chestnut-bellied starlings. Nope, not chestnut-bellied. I'm sure it's superb starlings. Check out these guys. Aren't they beautiful? Haven't seen them for quite some time, so it's lovely to see them back at the watering hole here. Normally in small flocks, anything between 5 to 10 of them all at one time. Aren't they brightly colored, so iridescent? Check at those colorations. What beautiful birds. Gina, they really are beautiful birds, these starlings. It's a very big treat to have them today. I haven't seen them for quite some time. So lovely to see them again. So we got comments from Catherine and Marcus Mikkel about the Grant's gazelle females. So apparently the females do actually have horns, so apologies for that. It's not a species I know very well. And yeah, the photos I've got in my my mammal book only show the male species. So the females do actually have horns, just the females' horns are smaller, so very similar to your springbok. So that's for the Grant's gazelle. Oh, these giraffe, look at their legs. It's just giraffe legs everywhere. It's been a giraffe-filled day here at Oldonyo the last couple of days. So many giraffe all around. Johan, these starlings are very cool. Awesome to see them. Don't see them very often. I'd love to have the wattled starlings coming back, and if we could see the wattled starlings in breeding plumage, that would also be pretty cool. But I think the breeding season has actually passed, so the males and females will no longer, or the males will no longer be in their bright colored yellow and black wattles that they have on their face. So yeah, if you have a Google that wattled starling male, very brightly colored. Their body feathers stay the same color, very drab gray, but their facial features do change quite a lot during the breeding season. Just lovely to see those superb starlings. It is a very vibrant and striking bird, common and native to East Africa. Can only be found in Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. Yeah, very beautiful colored bird, distinctly marked with its dark head, those yellow eyes, and that distinctive white line on its chest there. So the habitat those starlings normally occur in savannas, woodlands, scrublands, can often be found near human settlements as well, and Mopani woodlands. So Gina, it is really a privilege to see all the birds when they do give us a chance. Yes, we agree there. Oh, look what we have here. Check out this little guy. Little lizard on the log. There's a lot of little reptiles that we get occur in these areas. Our zoomie is definitely getting us a nice close-up sighting of this little reptile. So it could be the Namibian rock agama. This is a new one to me. I haven't seen these guys too often. Definitely one of the agama species. So it does occur in Kenya as well. Off he goes. Be looking for little bugs and insects, little creepy crawly creatures, maybe on the log or wood here. They're very fast, very busy. He also has to keep an eye out for any predators, because he would be a great snack for a little bird of prey like a shikra, or a lizard buzzard, a little sparrowhawk. Would love to snack on a little agama lizard like this. Very cute. Now Mindy, this is quite a cute sighting. Thank you to our zoomie here in Oldonyo for the close-up view of this very cute little agama. They do occur in very rocky areas or near water, and you can see him breathing there. Look at his little chest breathing, his little heart beating. Just trying to find this little guy. So I don't think he's the Namibian rock agama. He doesn't seem to be, his habitat doesn't occur here. So he's definitely a rock agama. So it could be the Kenyan rock agama species. Very cute little reptile. Almost looks a bit like a little gecko. He's got very much gecko markings and colorations. Oh. Is he hunting? Looks like he's hunting. I love how the male agamas, they'll use this very typical head bobbing behavior, and it can be a bit of an intimidation, so part of their body language to intimidate other males that might be in the area. So this is a female. I'm getting very confused. So just having a look at the rock agamas, and yeah, I can't understand. So this looks like a female. So the female agamas are a lot smaller and normally just a plain brown color. So it is the Kenyan rock agama, but it's the female of the Kenyan rock agama. And the females look very different to the males. The males can be blue and green and all bright colors, whereas the females are a little bit more of a drab color. This is a very good find wildlife lady. Very cute little lizard that we're watching here. Female agama. Oh, she looks quite exhausted. She looks like she's had a bit of a Wednesday. So unusual with their skin. She has very good eyesight, very accurate little hunter. Very strong limbs and short claws which help them to climb on their rocks and trees and move very quickly in order to catch their prey. This agama species can be found in Africa, Asia, and even the Middle East, and very adaptable species and can occur in many different regions. So they're very adapted to different habitats. And they are omnivores. They will feed on quite a variety of food, and obviously, as we spoke about earlier, the males are quite territorial in some species. They do defend their territories quite vigorously in order to protect their females. These little female agamas are oviviparous, meaning that they lay eggs. So the females typically lay 2 to 10 little eggs. I'm sure a lot of us have seen little gecko or lizard eggs at some stage. They're tiny, tiny little eggs. So they'll lay them in a bit of a clutch, buried in a warm sand or soil, which helps to incubate the eggs. And then during the breeding season, the males will use their bright throat colors and vocalization to attract the females. So it's all part of this very elaborate and intricate mating display, which most creatures go through once a year during the breeding season. These are an abundant species. They're not threatened much, but unfortunately they are used a lot in the illegal pet trade. Yeah, these poor little guys. So some of these agama species, quite interesting, they do have spiny tails. So have a look at this female's tail. So you get the spiny-tailed agamas that will use their tails to defend themselves, and do that spiky tail does help them while climbing as well. And just as with all creatures, This little agama is a very important part of the ecosystem. They act as both predators for smaller creatures in the food web, but also provide food to bigger creatures as well. Such peculiar looking creatures, aren't they? Look at those little toes. I do love it when you get these lizards in the desert and they kind of have their legs up, and then they take turns lifting their legs up out of the sand because of the hot soil. It's incredible how well adapted they are to desert environments. Oh, looks like we've still got our helmeted guinea fowl are still around. So this is a perfect habitat for these guinea fowl. They will spend a lot of their time around watering holes while scrummaging through elephant dung, looking for any little bits and bobs of food, feeding on grubs and seeds or little insects in their little flocks, which form a good protection and defense mechanism for them. If any of them see predators, they'll very quickly alarm call and they can all run away, fly away quickly. So they can actually fly, these helmeted guinea fowl, although they don't like to fly too much. But yeah, they need to get up into the trees at night, away from predators. So Gina, that little agama, was definitely a very cute little creature. Alright folks, why don't we head back across to Tembe and have a look at our elephants that are at the watering hole. Oh, so we've got an elephant bull that looks like he's a little bit lazy on the right hand side. He's resting his trunk, and he looked like he was resting his leg as well. It's hump day. I guess a lot of people are waiting for the weekend to come. Looks like this elephant is also waiting for the weekend. He's like, yeah, or wanting to go and rest underneath the tree. Whoa, we've got lots of elephant bulls. Seems like a lot more bulls have arrived since we were last here. Nice big long tuskers. Just enjoying the afternoon, seeing what comes up. Using these nice sandy areas, which can also be filled with salts and minerals. The animals will come into these open areas, and around this pan looks like there's some sodak areas filled with salts and minerals in the soil, and they'll feed on these salts and minerals. So in West Africa, you don't get so much pans where they're known as byes. So byes are openings in the forest which attract animals with water as well as minerals and salts. And it's pretty incredible. The forest elephants actually put their trunks, so they use their feet to dig holes in these little salines. So it's again a source of water, a little stream running through these byes. They're filled with salts. These salts actually used to be harvested by people probably in the 60s and 70s. So the elephants will go into these natural salt mineral areas. They'll dig with their front feet and actually blow with their trunks to disturb the salt so that they can drink some salts and minerals. So yeah, pretty incredible how animals have adapted and developed in order to be able to drink, feed on the minerals and fulfill their diet. So Gina, yes, our little agama, female agama, was quite a fascinating little creature. Very cool to see that agama so close up. These elephants seem to be having a bit of a lazy day. Lots of just standing around, resting, still dust bathing themselves. Waiting to see some nyala. I'd love to see some nyala. We haven't seen a nyala for a couple of days. Yeah, at Tembe would be lovely to see some nyala. This dust bathing, as we mentioned earlier, is a great way to regulate their temperature. That does also help to cool them down in a very hot day like today. Dusting their bodies does provide a bit of a temporary cooling effect with the coat of dust and sand that is on their bodies. It does help to maintain a comfortable body temperature for these elephants. So it's lovely how they have these dust bathing communal areas, and that's when some of these elephant bulls get a lot of their socializing in. Because if you think about it, some of these elephant bulls that are solitary, they might spend quite a few days before interacting, or quite a bit of time before interacting with other elephants. These two young elephant bulls are challenging one another. So yeah, it's amazing how these watering holes, so much more to a watering hole than just a place to drink. So these watering holes provide a lot of social interaction for these species that it's very important for them to interact with each other, like these bulls breeding herds, elephant breeding herds interacting with each other. So yeah, they're perfect bonding areas for socializing. This elephant bull's covering himself with some more mud. Oh, just listening to those sombre green bulls. It's always a typical bird that calls in the very forested areas. Always reminds me of forest region. The green bull, sombre green bull. Over in West Africa, we had about 15-20 different green bulls that occurred in our forest there. So it's very much a bird species that's restricted to forest regions, although they're quite adaptable to living in other areas as well. But just always reminds me of the jungle and the forest. We are all of our other birds. I'm not seeing any African jacanas. Normally you get some lily trotters or African jacanas in this thick reeded area. Had one white-faced whistling duck, and our juvenile African fish eagle hasn't shown his face much today. So Wild at Heart, thank you for joining us this afternoon. It has been a lovely afternoon, some great sightings. Looking forward to seeing what they find on the sunset safari, which will be coming up next. They had a very busy and active morning at all of our locations. Lots of lion activity, leopard, a bit of wild dog. Have a lovely afternoon, folks.